Good morning, guys. Today's video is going to be sort of part 2 of the allotment series, and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be laying the sort of structure of it, marking out where the beds are going to be, putting down the paths. I've managed to get some wood chip and I'll show you that soon. And yeah, so here's a quick look at what I brought with me so far. I've got all the wood chip at the house, so I'm going to be bringing that over in a wheelbarrow fulls. Fortunately, I'm not too far away, so it shouldn't take me too long. So I'm going to get straight into it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out my beds where I want them. So I'm going to use the posts just to sort of try and get it as square as possible. But it's really difficult in this allotment because there's not like a square side where I can kind of use that as a starting sort of line to then go off. The path is all crooked and really difficult. But so I've just basically sighted it where I'm happy with. Tied a piece of string to sort of work out where the edges are, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to just dig the edge to basically separate it from the bed and the path, because I've decided, and I might regret this later on, but I'm not going to do the raised beds idea. And the reason for that really is I think it'll be I think I can get the same result with a lot less time spent. If I was going to do raised beds, because I've sort of promised myself I'm going to do this quite cheaply, I'd be using pallet wood, which means I have to break apart a lot of pallets, etc. So I decided not to do that, so I'm going to be doing it in the ground. So this is going to be a very rough, questionable guide on how to do this, but I'm going to do our best. So in terms of width, I've gone for 4 foot, and that's just because you can sort of reach in 2 foot and then you can reach in 2 foot from the other side, so that's ideal. And I've gone for 8 foot this way, just like a rough sort of measurement, and I'm going to sort of do a sister bed behind me here, and we'll see if we can get another one in there, and then we'll start building up maybe 2 beds over here. So yeah. So I'm just on the last bed that I'm going to do now, and I thought I'd quickly talk about like technique for this. Really all I'm trying to do, and I was using the half moon sort of edger first, but I found, you know, this soil is really heavy clay and it's got tons of organic matter in it, which is brilliant, but it makes it quite hard to work with, especially on a sort of wet, cold February day. But all I'm really doing is just digging into about sort of half a spade's level and then levering out the soil and sort of dumping it into the middle of the bed. And that's pretty much, you know, all I'm really doing, just to mark out exactly where my beds are going to go before I move on and do my paths. So that there is the 4 beds. I was going to do a bed here, but I need to clear this stuff first, I think, really. So I think I'll maybe clear that and then build a final bed here, but we'll see how time gets on. So this is where this video gets maybe a little bit controversial. I'm now using plastic weed membrane to sort of suppress the soil so I can sort of put my wood chip on top and obviously create the paths. You know, if I thought maybe cardboard would work, I'd probably try it, but my concern is there's some really vigorous weeds here. There's some, you know, things that aren't even weeds necessarily that are going to try and grow up. So the weed membrane gives like a permanent barrier, which allows me to sort of relax and hopefully not have as much weeding to do. But yeah. So for the path, I decided on a wood chip path, and I was able to get this 3-ton pile of wood chip completely for free. How I did this was well, it's not very complicated. I basically rang around loads of arborists or tree surgeons and asked if any of them would be willing to drop off some wood chip. I rang maybe about 8 people before I found one that would do it for free. Quite a few of them sell it for biofuel, and they do it about £30 a ton. So 3 tons, that'd be £90 for this pile behind me. Quite a lot of money to part with, not something I was willing to do. So I sort of respectfully declined them, and eventually I found one that was basically like really cool. Yeah, sure. The only thing is, I would note, is that this is conifer wood chip. Sorry, car going past. This is conifer wood chip, which isn't necessarily as good as, you know, hardwood or maybe even softwood. But yeah, there we go. Right, I spent some time this afternoon sort of running wood chip from the house to the allotment and sort of putting it down. And I'll sort of give you a sort of closer look at what I'm sort of doing. So hopefully here you can see some of the progress I've made. So I brought over a lot of the wood chip and just sort of dumped and sort of roughly spread it out. You see some of it's quite green, but that will turn brown and, you know, be a bit more aesthetically pleasing once it's all sort of dying. In terms of the beds, what I'm doing is I'm putting cardboard over the soil. I've not really dug the soil or anything other than the edges, and now what I'm doing is I'm putting cardboard down and I'm tucking the cardboard under the sort of weed membrane. Now that does blur the boundaries between path and edge, but what it means is that there's no gaps for any weeds to come up. And that's the main thing at this sort of stage of the project, is to really get the ground underneath as sort of sterile as possible, you know, killing off as many of the weeds as we can. And then, yeah, this is pretty much where we're up to. So that's all we've got time for today. Put down the paths, put down lots of wood chip. It's not by no means perfect or finished yet, but obviously over the next sort of week or so, we'll do the finishing touches and do the edging properly and things. And obviously, yeah, I've put down the cardboard ready for compost next week when I can get it. Hope you enjoy this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.